Victorian fiction, prose, and drama. Introduction. Literature of Victorian era tends to depict daily life. It reflected the practical problems and interests of daily life. Victorian literature often presented varied social classes of people rather than just the aristocracy. This made it more popular among the middle classes. Victorian literature often had a moral purpose and tended to deviate from the earlier concept of art for art's sake. Victorians wanted their art to do more than just appease the senses. They wanted it to serve a purpose, often a moral or a political one. The Victorian era tended to be an era of doubt and pessimism. The influence of science is felt here, as scientific advances led people to feel uncertain about the future. The second half of the Victorian era is influenced by Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. Books of the Victorian era were characterized by things both practical and materialistic. Most of the writers exalted a purely ideal life. Victorian era literature was characterized by depictions of everyday people, hard lives, and moral lessons. They were meant for more than just entertainment. They were interested in the hero as well as the folk art. Charles Dickens, the most celebrated Victorian novelist, excelled in the art of storytelling with a focus on robust character development. His literary prowess earned him unparalleled popularity during his lifetime, and he remains a beloved author worldwide. At the tender age of 25, he penned his first novel, The Pickwick Papers, which swiftly gained overnight success. Monthly serialization, a format that rekindled public interest, brought Dickens's works to life, starting with The Pickwick Papers released in 20 installments from April 1836 to November 1837. Dickens consistently met the demand for engaging narratives, incorporating satirical elements that permeated his writing. His vivid storytelling skillfully addressed social issues and the struggles of the underprivileged. Among his most notable works are Oliver Twist, Nicholas Nickleby, Christmas Carol, David Copperfield, Bleak House, Dombey and Son, Little Dorrit, A Tale of Two Cities, and Great Expectations. Dickens's literary evolution saw a shift towards darker themes in line with the prevailing 19th century literary trends. In the first half of Queen Victoria's reign, William Thackeray stood as Dickens's formidable rival. While sharing a stylistic kinship with Dickens, Thackeray offered a more detached and satirical perspective on his characters. His focus extended to the portrayal of middle class society, distinct from Dickens's narrative terrain. Notably, his novel Vanity Fair, subtitled A Novel Without a Hero, represented a prevalent form in Victorian literature, historical fiction that depicted recent history. The Bronte sisters, Anne, Charlotte, and Emily, defied conventions of their time by producing remarkable works. Yet their contributions initially faced limited recognition from Victorian critics. Emily's singular work, Wuthering Heights, provided a Gothic romantic narrative from a woman's viewpoint, delving into themes of class, myth, and gender. Charlotte's Jane Eyre stands as another seminal 19th century novel featuring Gothic elements. Anne's second novel, The Tenant of Wildfell Hall, embraced a realistic style over romanticism, earning its distinction as one of the first sustained female feminist novelists. In the later years of the Victorian era, George Eliot, the pseudonym of Mary Ann Evans, left her literary mark. Her publication, The Mill on the Floss, preceded her most acclaimed work, Middlemarch. Like the Brontes, she opted for a masculine pen name. Novelist Thomas Hardy emerged in the latter decades of the Victorian era, crafting notable works known for their idyllic yet cynical portrayal of pastoral life in the English countryside. His literary repertoire encompassed works such as Under the Greenwood Tree, Far from the Madding Crowd, The Mayor of Casterbridge, Tess of the D'Urbervilles, and Jude the Obscure. Hardy's narratives offered a counterpoint to the era's urbanization trends, challenging the prevailing Victorian norms. This period also saw the literary contributions of other significant novelists, including Elizabeth Gaskell, Anthony Trollope, George Meredith, and George Gissing. Each author enriched the literary landscape, contributing to the diversity of Victorian literature. The New Woman. The concept of the New Woman emerged as a powerful feminist ideal in the late 19th century, casting a profound influence on the trajectory of the 20th century. The term was initially coined by Irish writer Sarah Grant in 1894 as she sought to describe a novel archetype of women. These were individuals who fiercely pursued independence and radical societal change. Maria Louisa Reim, who wrote under the pseudonym Oida, further championed the concept by adopting it as the title for one of her influential articles. Renowned British American writer Henry James also played a pivotal role in popularizing the term. He employed it to depict the growing number of feminist, educated, and self reliant women who were emerging in Europe and the United States. This transformation extended beyond mere intellectual independence. It encompassed significant shifts in their activities and attire. Activities such as cycling expanded women's engagement with a broader and more active world. The new woman represented a challenge to the established boundaries imposed by male dominated societies. These evolving societal dynamics were notably illustrated in the plays of Norwegian playwright Henrik Ibsen. In literature, discussions about the expanding roles of women in English society date back to earlier works such as Maria Edgeworth's Belinda and Elizabeth Barrett's Aurora Leigh. These texts explored the tension between traditional marital roles and the radical concept that a woman could be an independent artist. In the realm of drama, the late 19th century witnessed the emergence of new woman plays. Henrik Ibsen's A Doll's House and Hedda Gabler, Henry Arthur Jones' The Case of Rebellious Susan, and George Bernard Shaw's provocative works like Mrs. Warren's Profession and Candida all encapsulated the spirit of this era. A jest by Max Beerbohm humorously referred to the new woman as springing forth fully formed from Ibsen's imagination, drawing an analogy to the birth of Athena. Bram Stoker's Dracula prominently featured discussions regarding the new woman within its pages. Two main female characters engage in dialogue about changing women's roles and the new woman, exemplifying these shifting societal dynamics. Mina Harker embodies several traits of the new woman, employing skills such as typing and deductive reasoning that amuse the older male characters. Lucy Westenra questions whether a new woman could marry multiple men simultaneously, a notion that astonishes her friend. Feminist interpretations of Dracula emphasize male anxiety about the woman question and female sexuality as central themes in the book. In the realm of fiction, notable new woman writers included Olive Schreiner, Annie Sophie Corey, Sarah Grant, Mona Caird, George Egerton, and Ella Hepburn Dixon. Works like Victoria Cross's Anna Lombard, Dixon's The Story of a Modern Woman, and H.G. Wells' and Anne Veronica exemplified this literary movement. It is also worth noting Kate Chopin's The Awakening, especially in narratives inspired by Gustave Flaubert's Madame Bovary. Both of these texts chronicle the doomed quest for independence and self-realization by women through sexual experimentation. The emergence of the fashion-conscious and socially active flapper during the 1920s marked the transition from the era of the new woman to a new phase in feminism, now recognized as first-wave feminism. This shift reflected the evolving aspirations and societal roles of women in the early 20th century.